Okay, how do I sum up the modern American woman in one sentence? I'll never let a man get between me and my ability to work a 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life. I mean, you do you, I guess. I'm just an evil conservative man who wants to give my woman a big, beautiful house to raise beautiful, healthy children in. Please, leave your angry comments below. As for the rest of you, hello! I am so glad that you could be here today. My name is Richard, the channel is called New Memphis. In the future I would like to avoid, and that I'm making this video to hopefully curtail, is a future where, as this wave of TikTok-fueled, misandristic pseudo-feminism seems to be cresting and breaking, is a future where women go back to being basically treated as children and having their rights stripped away, up until we suddenly need them again and then they're girl bosses. Like, women can't work in factories until we suddenly need women to work in factories. Initiate state-funded girl boss propaganda. Women can't be in combat roles until there's a massive staffing shortage, and then why wouldn't women want to join the military? You get the idea. And none of that is women's fault, by the way. I just really want to be clear about this, that this is a manipulation of women too. The United States has been doing this cycle for years. Not that it's the only one. But in this video, I want to talk about a current cycle that we're going through that seems to be on the way out, and hopefully maybe even conjecture about where we could be going from here. Women have been moving up in the hierarchies of the American corporate system, government, and higher education for decades now. And to be clear, that is a neutral statement. However, you probably have a pre-written response that you feel that you need to have in response to me saying that, and that's for one of three reasons. A, you're a man who doesn't want to be called a misogynist. B, you're a woman who doesn't want to be called a traitor to her gender. Or C, you're a man who does want to be called a misogynist and needs to show to yo boys on Discord how much you hate those bitches. None of them are great options, although the third one is my least favorite. While women's public visibility has gone up tremendously, there has been a distinct and concerted effort to keep people from really thinking about why women have been taking on more roles in public spaces and why women want to work 40 hours a week along with having kids at some point in their life. Why is that normal, and why are we defending it so vehemently? And why is the zeitgeist just really into the idea of women going off to the big city to have a full-time job before they start having families? The first reason is taxes. The second is that the United States' population is just aging rapidly because of a declining birth rate, which is now getting worse because women are expected to have full-time jobs and have families. Starting around a few decades ago, 80s, 90s, there were just not enough men in urban centers doing the jobs required to keep the United States financially solvent and to maintain the level of public services in terms of both the financials and the actual staffing required to keep them up and running, especially with the financial burden of having so many old people who required care. Generally, the way you combat that is by having lots of kids who pay taxes or just take care of their elders, on their own time, but I guess the United States thought it was too cool for that. What's the solution? Tell women to have it all. They need to have a career to pay taxes, and they need to have their own money to pay taxes, and they need to have a car to pay taxes, and their own credit card debt, student debt. If you can imagine a type of debt that has been shipped to women in bulk alongside their latest Temu haul. Ally McBeal and Carrie Bradshaw essentially became the new Rosie the Riveter, and alongside it came a slurry of rom-coms and movies trying to propagate this idea of this urban, neoliberal, empowered lifestyle for women that, of course, is always punctuated at the end by marrying a rich man or taking everything he has in the divorce. Either one works. You shouldn't be home raising children. That's ridiculous. We can't even tax that. The Financial Diet made a really interesting video about this called How Sex and the City Ruined Women's Relationship to Money. It's really incredibly interesting, and I recommend you check it out if you want to know more about, the lifestyle that was pitched to women from a woman.
Real academics on the matter will remember that later in the episode, Carrie spends a night with a handsome French architect who leaves her $1,000 on the nightstand because he thought she was an escort, and she uses the money to, I assume, pay back that overdue credit card bill. The lessons this show was giving us. Mwah, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10 no notes.
When studying current events, much like historical ones, it's always best to get primary sources. The women in my parents' generation caught between Reagan's austerity and whatever the hell Hillary represented, were essentially just worked to death, being expected to have a full-time job and kids, even if they had a husband, which is insane. And the fact that the fucking neoliberal hive mind is just so desperate to tell women that they just need to keep working even when they have husbands, and making women actively want to defend that position is just a psyop that is just god tier. Like, truly impressive stuff. Like, truly. I guess as long as you can bribe women with the promise of a Birkin bag at the end of this and the admiration of the girls and gays, you can pretty much just get away with anything. So I've laid all this out. What's the solution? Or some speculation on where we could be going from here. Well, Mary Harrington has some pretty good ideas, and I recommend you check her out, but you should hear her ideas from her.
It's possible that the first baby I ever held was my own, or if not the first, certainly very close to the first. And I was in my late 30s. Yep. You just think this is crazy. Again, in Feminism Against Progress, the analogy I've given is weaving, which I think it's a very powerful illustration of what happened to women's work at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And I suppose the question I have is, what kinds of work? Like, let's say you want to be a mum, and let's say you've got small children around underfoot. What's the equivalent work that's a bit interruptible, that's a bit social?
Go check out her episode of the Modern Wisdom podcast. It was great. It's incredible stuff. I highly recommend it. I'll link that below as well. It does genuinely seem like this trend is on the downswing, so I'm not going to recommend you go out and try to change the minds of all women. Not that that was ever really a great solution at any point. I'm not sure why the manosphere felt like it needed to push that at all. But I guess I just want to make this video to say that if you're someone like me who believes in family planning and being family-oriented and traditional values, I just want to tell you, yes, the media lies to women. It gaslights them into wanting a lifestyle that many of them, not all, but many of them, will be completely unhappy with. And there is little to nothing that you can possibly do about it. That's where we are. The best thing that you can do, and I know it's a little corny, but the best thing you can do is focus on you. Try to be the best version of you that you can, and attempt to find a partner with similar values who wants what you want. Be honest with yourself, figure out what you want, and just go there and directly there. There's not a whole lot of other advice I can give. But I do hope this video has been helpful. And ultimately, the reckoning of this gaslighting is going to come. I mean, the fallout will be between women and other women, and the media that's propagating this, which actually is still dominated by men, and it's not talked about enough, and whatever, I can't do anything about it. Like I said, all that I'm gonna do is just try to find a partner with similar values, and try to move on from there. I'm gonna try to be the best version of me, and try to find someone else who's determined to be the best version of them. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.